weeks. I guess the cadence now is that I'm posting at a bi-weekly basis. It's hard because, as you noticed, one of the first things that you probably noticed, for anyone who doesn't see me in like real life, because I feel like the majority of people that watch this podcast are actually people that I know in real life, which is great. I mean, it's good and bad. But on that note, I gotta say, we passed our first achievement, our first milestone, I will say. 100 subscribers, over 100 subscribers on YouTube, which is, I'm proud of it. I honestly am. It's not like it's breaking 1 million, right? It's by no means enough to get me, monetized and all that stuff, but it's the first small incremental step in achieving these dreams that I have with this platform, with this channel, all that good stuff. And, I gotta say, it's one step at a time, and I'm proud of it. I'm happy that we finally broke that barrier. Still haven't been able to crack 10K on TikTok for whatever reason. That shit is as stubborn as like a fucking donkey. It's not budging. Even though ratio-wise, like the golden ratio for any social media stuff, or particularly TikTok, is like 10% of like 10% of views should be likes, and then 10% of likes should be comments. And if you hit those, standards, then, and if you go above them, then typically it's a viral video. The goods on the silver lining of the fact that I haven't hit 10K on TikTok is that I've actually surpassed those for the most part whenever I do upload inconsistently a piece of content. For the main reason being, the last podcast with Brandon was amazing. B. Kim, the bodybuilder, aspiring bodybuilder, professional coach, and athlete. It was fantastic. I had a great time talking to him. That conversation was actually really enlightening, just because on the outside, he's such a jolly person, right? Like you guys see, he had a smile throughout the entire fucking podcast, and he's always high energy. He's always super energetic and like very happy-go-lucky type of guy. I mean, he said that like a bunch of times, but it's true. Like when the experiences I've had with him, nothing but positive as far as like his attitude. And it's crazy how like those happy people that you think that they've experienced like nothing in their life in terms of like trials and tribulations, that guy actually went through it. I didn't know that he was had struggled with mental health issues in the past, and it was really enlightening to go and actually have that conversation. So point of this, what I was trying to say is that episode was fantastic. The content in that episode was amazing. Like I do this thing where it's like when I start recording, and if I realize like, holy shit, this is going to be an amazing clip to post on social media, or did I say clit? I meant clip. This is going to be an amazing clip to post on social media, TikTok, like all the different fucking digital channels, right? I'm thinking to myself that there's like so many moments, especially while I'm editing it in post, that this is going to be fantastic in terms of like just stuff to throw at the wall to just get views and like, exposure. The problem is the fact that I'm a lazy editor. Premiere Pro, I've gotten so much better with it as time has gone on, especially like for the clips. You can't really tell for this. I mean, yeah, I do like little cool things and add sliders of random pictures and shit pertaining to the conversation. But in general, I would say that I'm a very lazy editor when it comes to like actually reducing the hour-long podcast into this like condensed piece of content. And I struggle with that sometimes. It's the posting cadence that is really hard for me to keep up with. How this all relates to my new hair. I like having long hair. I really do. But the corporations, 9 to 5, like SpongeBob SquarePants type shit, it kind of just helps to have short hair. Especially like, not saying that I'm like conforming. I mean, I guess I am, right? But more so the fact that ladies, it is insanely easy to have short hair, like insanely easy. And I'll say this as a guy. I think I said this in like a previous podcast episode, because at one point I had hair up like down to my shoulders, like here. It is a joke. The preparation when you have hair like this is actually like astoundingly easy. Like I roll out of bed, take a shower, and then after I take a shower, next thing you know, like I'm set for the day. Like, I'm literally just set for the entire day. Maybe if I'm trying to get fancy, I put a little pomade, a little bit of gel, whatever herbal essences. No, not that one. Aussie, whatever that fucking purple can of hairspray is. You put a little bit of that shit in your hair, and you're good to go. That is so fucking easy compared to when you have like longer locks that you got to blow dry it, and then you got to make sure that it sits right and falls right. Then you got to hairspray the fuck out of it so it doesn't move throughout the day. It's a nightmare. Anyways, I got the haircut because I got a new job. Your boy is now, I don't want to disclose too much information because it's like my nightmare situation if anyone from my job were to find out about this. I mean, it's on my resume, so I guess if they do, that's on me. But what I'm trying to say is, I got a new job, super fun. I'm enjoying it, but obviously it's taking a lot more time out of my day, especially because it's based out of New York, which I've been saying I'm trying to move soon, which I don't know if you can tell. I'm in the same fucking house. This is the same studio. I haven't moved yet. I'll get to that in a second because it's been a fucking nightmare. But I got a new job. It's based in New York, and the commute in and out is like 3 hours total time every day. I don't understand how previous generations, like my dad and my grandfathers and like people even older than that in America, in like the corporate world, I don't understand how these people commuted every day. That shit is soul sucking. Like, I've never seen someone on the fucking bus with a smile on their face. Like, never in my fucking life. I commuted to school from this Rockland County, which is where I currently am and reside, from here all the way to New York. Again, 3 hours total time every day. So an hour and a half there, if like at least, and then an hour and a half back. So that's 3 hours. Every day you're spending just traveling to and from your place of business, work, school, whatever. I have never fucking seen in all of my years doing that, the 4 in college and then the couple weeks that I've been, at this new job, never seen someone with a smile on their face unless they're coming from the city, like on a Friday or something, and they're shit-faced drunk, which if you're taking a commuter bus like at 6 p.m. and you're shit-faced drunk to come back out to the suburbs, I don't know why you wouldn't just stay in the city and continue to have more fun. That's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is that shit drains you. It fucking drains you. Like, I've spoken about this with Mike, and it's insane. Like, people just go, and I feel like work is work, right? It's never going to be 100% fun. There's going to be ups and downs in it. Obviously, I get that. But when it comes to the shit that really sucks the soul out of humans, like it just makes them cripplingly depressed, is fucking commuting. And especially, I just want to touch on this fact. I have it easier. Like, yeah, I have a hybrid work schedule, and people of like past generations probably think that's, oh, these kids are getting away with so much stuff. I could get, it's all semantics, because I could then argue, oh, like inflation rates, the fact that I'll never be able, like my generation will never be able to afford a house, all that fucking shit. That's for another day. What I'm trying to say right now is I have it easy because of the fucking cell phone. The invention of the cell phone, this is like a crazy tangent, but what I'm trying to say is every day when you commute, every day that you're on the bus or the train, whatever it is, and you're driving into work, you have at least your phone that you can plug in, listen to music, listen to a podcast. Hopefully you listen to this one. It's on Spotify as well, or on YouTube. You have sources of entertainment at your disposal, which is incredible, because if you think about like rewind the clock, like literally all it takes is 20 years. What the fuck were these people doing on their commute to work? Well, they had their Sony Walkmans. All right, fine. Rewind a little fast, like farther back, like the 50s, 60s, 70s, all that shit. What were they doing on their way into work? Reading newspapers, right? Probably. Like, that seems like dog shit. I mean, how much reading can you do if you're in an hour and a half commute each fucking way every time? Like, I was thinking about this on the bus. I'm like, yo, these people around me, everyone's either sleeping, working, or just with headphones in listening to some shit. Like, there's no one smiling, nothing. Like, it is the craziest thing, and it sucks the fucking soul out of you, because then when you go and you're surrounded by all these like depressed people, it's obviously going to impact you. Like, we're social creatures, humans, so we're going to be impacted by our fucking environment. That commute, that 3 hour commute total time, day in and day out, don't understand how someone can do that for a lifetime. I once worked with a coworker back at my previous job. He was a manager. He was a great, fantastic guy. The job was also in the city. He fucking lived in like upstate New York, where it was 2 hours driving without traffic, 2 hours driving one way. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. Unbelievable. 4 hours every single fucking day. That's like driving from here to Philadelphia and back every freaking day just to go to work. Like, that is ridiculous. And then you get to work and you got to deal with fucking Karen or whoever and all these bitch ass problems. Like, it's ridiculous. And then you have that 2 hour drive home to get back. And it's like, no wonder people are fucking losing their minds and becoming depressed and shit like that and dealing with all these mental health issues because of the fact that they have that. That's why I'm a huge advocate for remote work. Who isn't? I mean, I feel like if you say you're a fan of like going into the office, you either have a super great office or you like have a shit joke of a commute, because anything that's like remotely close to an hour of a commute every day, to be wasting 2 hours every day just commuting to go to work, to and from work, that's insane. So that's all I wanted to say on that. Yeah, like, how the fuck did we even get to this point? It's crazy. I think I have ADHD. I swear to God, like, the topics just jump around. But yeah, so we talked about the fact that we've broken over 100 subscribers. Super proud of that. Soon to be 1,000, soon to be 100,000, soon to be hopefully 1 million. Just have to keep up with the posting cadence. But like I said, I'm a lazy fuck. And then after that, I just wanted to talk about, this weekend has been pretty tragic. It's right now it's Wednesday, but these past 3 days have been insane. Halloween. It's really tragic, the events that happened in South Korea. I know this is like taking a really quick turn, but I wanted to touch on this because I have some thoughts on the entire event. I don't think it's come out what exactly caused that stampede, but for 150 people to just get wiped like that is mind-boggling. Like, I don't know what caused that, but I don't know why someone would go to that location when, if you look at the videos and stuff, like prior to all that shit going down, it is literally like people are packed in like a fucking can of sardines. Like, it's insane. You end up in that situation. I was talking about this with my friends the other day, and this is why it's so tragic. You go, let's say, with your girlfriend, right? Or your friends. You just decide, let's go have a night out. It's Halloween. Let's go party. And you know a popular nightlife area in the bustling city of, I don't know if it was in Seoul, but just South Korea, in a big city, right? I know that South Korea is a country, but just in a big city. You go to that area and it's fucking packed. And you end up just saying, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen? You go in and then something like that happens. When that shit breaks out, this is why it's so heart-wrenching. Like, if you really think about it and put yourself in like one of those people's shoes, right? All that stuff is going down. You're in like a fucking funnel basically, and you don't have any room to move an arm, punch people, push people, nothing. You're just packed in like a can of sardines. Like, it's so crazy. Like, I get anxious just thinking about the people that were in that situation. But the real kicker is, if you go with your friends or girlfriends or something like that, like, I was thinking about this. If I were to go, and if I was in that situation, and I was with Hannah, right? I feel, as any good boyfriend should, that it's their kind of responsibility to make sure that, your loved ones are okay, your girlfriend's okay, right? And if something like that happens, you're trying to grab your girlfriend and run out of this fucking ridiculous, like, hell of a situation, and she, God forbid, gets like dragged down or something, what do you do? What do you do? Like, I would probably end up dying too, because I can't just leave my girlfriend there. Or if it was a friend, whoever it is, someone like someone you're close with, how are you just going to leave them there to just get like stomped on? And then now you're putting yourself in an even riskier situation by trying to rescue them. And I know for a fact there was people like that, because no one goes to these events by themselves, right? So I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, whoa, that's fucking hard. And 150 fucking people, like, that is insane. And then fast forward 2 days later, or this was, I think, 2 days ago, I don't know how far from the events that happened in South Korea, and then Takeoff gets shot. Like, it's crazy how social media like you could just get fed so many different stories in like the span of a week. You just hear about all these different tragedies that are going on around the world. Obviously, I'm not saying, I mean, rest in peace, Takeoff, but I'm not saying that equates to the 150 people that died in South Korea. It's insane. Like, I just can't believe that happened. Obviously, condolences to the families and all those people that lost their loved ones in that incident. It's insane. Like, I wish I knew what caused that. I was looking into it before I started recording this episode, and I didn't see any updates on that story, which I think initial speculation was something about just like the sheer amount of people made others in the crowd like anxious or nervous because they felt as if they couldn't breathe, similar to what happened with the Travis Scott concert. So for that to happen makes me a little bit hesitant to move into New York City, which is the next thing I wanted to talk about. Like, all this shit that happens in all these major populated cities, I'm like literally like a couple weeks out, like within a month's time, I'm going to be moved in to some apartment that's probably going to be like 2 feet by 2 feet. And I'm going to have to like basically shower in the kitchen sink and also sleep in like the fridge or some shit because it's going to be ridiculously small. And I'm going to get charged $4,000 a month for it. But I'm looking to move to New York, right? Obviously with Hannah. And it's been a real crazy fucking time, let me tell you. From here on out, it's not going to be as sad as going over that stuff with South Korea. I just want to talk about that, not to make light of it again, but, now that that's done, on to the happier content, hopefully, for the topics of discussion. But now that I'm moving in, right, into New York City, we've been looking like up and down. We've been involved in Facebook, apartment housing groups, all this shit going on StreetEasy, apartments.com, all that great stuff. Just looking for any decent place to live. And now emphasis on decent, because you get some listings where you're just like, you don't even know how to react. Like, you're just like, how does someone fucking post this and think it's okay for someone to live in these conditions? I'm going to elaborate a little more. Hannah and I were looking on StreetEasy. All right. And we were scrolling, and we set a max budget of $3,500, right? Because also, like, we're not trying to blow all our money on rent. You're trying to just pay. It's like a balance game, right? Like, you're trying to get a decent place, right? And you're willing to pay a good amount of money for it, but you're not also trying to fucking make yourself bankrupt just to live in an apartment, because the whole point of living in New York City is so you can experience New York City. You ain't got the funds because you're spending it on the rent. Well, that's just fucked. So we set our budget at $3,500. We're scrolling through all the apps, all the fucking websites, and we find one that initial pricing is like, I think it was like $2,300 or something like that. It couldn't have been more than $2,500 a month, right? So we're like, holy shit, that's $1,000 cheaper, and it's in a good area in Manhattan. Let's check this shit out. Of course, the first fucking picture that's in the listing is not at all accurate to the fucking actual pictures of the apartment, because the second you scroll past, this is like catfishing to the highest degree. I think StreetEasy and apartments.com, y'all motherfuckers, whoever's in charge of like product management, you guys need to make sure that there's a way to vet the listings on there, because this shit's insane. Okay, you click through to that shit, you're looking, first picture is like some like computer generated picture, some Photoshop picture of like a beautiful interior with great natural lighting, all this shit, and it's like, oh, come click through the listing, see what we got to offer. You click through, swipe to the next picture. Oh my god, the window is like, you couldn't even, if there's, Lord forbid, there's a fucking fire, there ain't no way even an anorexic person wouldn't be able to fit in the fucking window there. It was literally like this big, like this wide, and it's just a sliver in the wall, and you got like maybe 2 rays of sunshine coming through that bitch. And who knows, like, I didn't see through the window. Maybe there's a fucking skyscraper, the back of a building blocking that shit. You're not going to be able to see dick. So it's just depressing as fuck. Swipe to the next picture. The room, awkwardly shaped. You could it's almost like whoever the people who constructed the building that this apartment was in saw some extra space and were like, let's just make that shit, instead of adding it onto like a neighboring apartment, like a neighboring unit. we'll just make that into some bullshit apartment that will fucking overcharge some poor fuck to live in there. All right? Because the rooms are awkwardly shaped. Usually a room is like a square or a rectangle, right? With corners. This room, I shit you not, the door was on one wall. You walk in and then it's like, imagine like a knife shape. So it literally is the wall like this, right? Or I should go like this. This is where the door comes through. So this is like my pinky, right? This is like the door opening into the room. You got another wall going like that. And then now this wall is curved up like that. What furniture is curved? You can't fit a fucking dresser along the longest wall. You can't fit a fucking dresser. You can't put a bed against it because it's curved. So that's not even the worst part of this specific listing that we saw. I would post pictures, but I feel like it's also like illegal to do that. I don't want to get sued. Not that anyone watches this shit, but just for like obviously safety's sake. The worst part was the like fourth or fifth picture we swipe through, and it's the bathroom. Guys, usually in an apartment bathroom, you have the toilet, sink, and shower pretty in like close vicinity, right? That's the normal shit. Because obviously you gotta like do all that stuff and you want it to be within close vicinity. We're looking at the picture and the sink and the shower are next to each other, and then you're like, where the fuck's the toilet? Dog. The toilet, I can't estimate how far it was because I don't know like the actual space. It's just shown through pictures. But the toilet was in a corner down a hallway. In the bathroom, there was a hallway, but not like a normal, like a miniature fucking hallway. And this thing is like, I'm not exaggerating. It is the size, the width. The hallway's the width of like a little bit more than the width of the toilet. It was insane. Like who the fuck, what type of cryptic, like it's like you're exploring some fucking crypts, or is that the appropriate word? Like just tunnels and shit to get to the shitter. I don't understand how someone fucking charges $2,000 something for that crap. Like it's insane. Not to mention the kitchen literally was just a sink right next to it, the stove right next to it, the refrigerator. Where's the counter space? Like hypothetically speaking, if I were to cook dinner in this environment, would I cut the shit in the sink and then put it on the stove? I don't fucking know. You could say I'm privileged. Probably right, but it doesn't take away from the fact that someone should not be, that's highway robbery. You shouldn't be charging $2,300, $2,500 for that fucking shithole. That's like no cap, like without exaggeration, 450 to 550 square feet. Like it was so small. All right. It was insanely fucking small. So, and it's also not even about the size. It's about the layout. Like the design, like you could say technically it's like 500, 600 square feet. But if it's just one long, narrow hallway, that's horrible. Like who the fuck is going to be able to live in that? Moving furniture in and out is going to be a nightmare. So Hannah and I have been looking up and down, searching high and low for a good apartment, right? We finally found one that we actually fell in love with. Like we were like, holy fuck. It's expensive. It's expensive. It's pretty much maxing out the budget. But the thing is what they don't tell you. All right, let me break this down. Hold on. It's time to get serious for a second. For anyone, for whatever reason, if there's someone younger watching this, right? Like you're in your college years and you're thinking, I'm going to move next year to go to college, or after college, I'm going to move to the big city, whatever. This is pertaining only to New York. Actually, everywhere, because this is just general real estate. This shit has been finely tuned to milk every possible cent out of your fucking wallet. What I mean by that is when you go into New York City and you freaking visit these apartments, right? Or any city, you see the apartment, you're like, yo, this fucking apartment is lit. I like this apartment. I want to rent this apartment. Let's say there is already a person, right? Because this happens pretty often, that's on the lease for that apartment. They're basically the renters, the tenants of that apartment, and their lease has not expired, right? It's still in contract, and you want to, and they're trying to move, so they're trying to get rid of that lease. Now all of a sudden you have what's called a lease transfer fee. Okay, for the particular place that we're looking at, they were the lease transfer fee, which just sounds like such a made up fucking fairy dust shit that they're just trying to pull out of thin air. $1,500 to transfer the lease to us if we were to try to take it from the other person. So in theory, what you're basically telling me is you're the one who's trying to move out early. You signed a fucking year contract. Now you're trying to terminate it early, and I have to pay for taking it off of your hands. Do you understand? Am I sweating? Do you understand how stupid that is? It is so fucking dumb that we would have to pay a lease transfer fee of $1,500 fucking dollars to do your dumb ass a solid. And I'm not like, this isn't even the tenant's fault. It's like real estate is ridiculous because then on top of that, you have a security deposit, which is security deposit. That makes sense. Fine, whatever. There's the broker's fee, the moving costs. The pet fee, some fucking places are like, oh yeah, we're totally pet friendly. We understand that if you have a pet, you'll be responsible for whatever the fuck. And they say, yeah, we're super pet friendly. $250 up front in case your pet does damages, which I don't know, like if you have a cat, I don't know what the fuck cats, like I understand that they're mischievous or whatever. Last I checked, they're not breaking lead pipes and going around fucking around with like the electrical wiring of an apartment. I don't know what damages a pet like a cat would do in a freaking New York City apartment, but you know, I guess these people have had experiences where they're justifying a fucking charge like this. $250 up front, then you got to slap on another $50 in rent for a cat. It blows my mind. Like this shit's finally fucking tuned. So what I'm basically trying to tell, this is the whole rant that I'm going on here. If you're a younger person looking to move into a city, make sure you save up at least like whatever your budget is for rent. I would say 4 times that amount. So if your budget for rent is like $2,000, you better have 8 G's to move in. All right. Some of that money you'll get back, security deposits, stuff like that, assuming you don't fucking party your ass off and break some shit. And some of that money you won't. Like if you have a pet, you got to pay $300 to fucking allow the pet to live there. Like it's so dumb. It actually blows my fucking mind. So the stress of all this has obviously had impacts on the relationship. It's nothing serious. It's not like we're going to break up or anything, but it is insane. Like trying to plan out the logistics, not to mention the fact that this weekend I'm going to Pittsburgh. And then obviously there's 2 weekends after that between this weekend. So for reference, I'm recording this on the 2nd of November. This weekend, I'm going to Pittsburgh. Then the next weekend, I have some plans, but we're trying to see if we can squeeze in somehow last second fucking move into New York City. That's another thing too. With New York, the turnaround time on this ish is insane. You will list something, right? You list something, it goes like that. Like it fucking disappears. So literally the amount of apartments that are on like these apps, these websites, if you refresh, Lord knows there's probably a good amount of chance that like one of the units that you loved, if you don't hop on it right away, was taken right out of your, like right from under your nose. It's crazy. Like the demand is super high. I don't know why, because people are getting fucking shoved in subway platforms, but I'm one of the idiots that are trying to move in, me along with Hannah. Anyways, we're trying to go. We're looking high and low, doing all that good stuff, right? The stress of trying to plan all this out logistically, because then you have Thanksgiving the weekend of the, the 26th is the Saturday of that weekend. So you have Thanksgiving right before then. And then I got my Paul, who's been on the show before, his birthday. So it's just insane how life moves so fast. 1 second, you get a new job. And then it's like, yay, I get a new job. I'm going to start working with new people, doing exciting new stuff. And then you're chilling for a little bit. Like I'm talking like a month. You're chilling for a little bit, right? Then next thing you know, you're trying to plan out all this crazy shit, moving in while balancing, like planning out. I'm also going to Iceland. That's going to be a super fun trip. Super looking forward to like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to record a podcast there. Probably not, but shooting some footage and then having a podcast to break it all down. That's going to be sick. Trying to plan that, then going to plan this Pittsburgh trip, then fucking planning to move in, and also trying to plan or help plan, not really help plan, but like schedule my work stuff and also like, you know, like leisurely activities on the weekends. Life moves insanely fast. I guess I'm getting into that point. I was watching like a TikTok the other day that said ages 25 to like 50 is the saddest time in people's lives because that's when like real life issues start hitting you. Y'all, that shit hit deep. I'm not gonna lie. When I heard that, I got like preliminarily depressed. Like I felt the sadness that is to come, that is headed my way, but at the same time, there's a lot of shit to look forward to because that's also when you get to make the most money, all that good stuff, whatever the fuck. And plus happiness, all that stuff, it's just a perspective. So if you slap a big old smile on your face, hopefully you will feel better at the end of the day. Yeah. So now I'm going to end the episode off on probably recapping. This has been, I'm out of practice, obviously, as you could tell. If you've made it to this point in the episode, good for you. I'm out of practice. I'm better with guests, I would say. Doing solo episodes, like, what's that guy's name? Not Gary V. Gary Owens, I think. That comedian. He literally does episodes, Bill Burr too, where they just rant, and it's insane. Like, I'm feeling it in my throat. Like, without talking this much, without taking breaks and pauses, there's a physical toll that it has on your body. So feel bad for me. So I want to end the podcast off on like a happier note because I've been bitching for most of this podcast actually, but I want to end it off on a happier note and kind of go into like something that happened to me recently or something I experienced that was actually insane. It meant a lot to me. It was a very surreal experience, and that was having the privilege of going to see Post Malone in concert. I've talked about this before, like I think a couple times, but Post Malone is, I think, my number one music. Like, for whatever reason, I know it's like people, I guess, will say he's like a basic option to like love so much, but he's legit like my number one Spotify artist, number one, like I just listen to him all the fucking time. Every album that he's released, I've listened to multiple times. Like, I can't tell you, basically at any given point in the day, if you put on Post, I will jam out. I know most of his songs. I think when Spotify Wrapped for 2021 came out, I fell into like the top 0.05% of listeners on Spotify for Posty. I just love his fucking music a lot. Particular reason being like his music actually helped me get through some pretty challenging times in life. I had my first breakup, that like first real heartbreak that I went through. Obviously that's like hard for anyone, right? It just so happened that like I was listening to his music to help me get through that. And then a couple of years later, I had like a really big loss where I lost someone in my life. And I don't want to get into it too much just because it's not really my story or my right to like, disclose that information. But it was a tough time in, my life and everyone in my close-knit circle, my friend groups, their lives as well. And those are dark waters to kind of get through. And his music helped me get through that stuff. You just kind of, when you're grieving or going through like hard times, you find little pockets of happiness or little things that bring you joy, and they kind of just help you get along and keep on keeping on. And then eventually at some point, time heals all wounds, and then you feel a little normal again. And, I'm not saying like this was something, those are two dark periods in my life. Obviously the latter being much more intense than the breakup, but his music was what helped me get through that. And the person who we had lost, my friend group and my family, and so on and so forth, they passed on the 13th of October, which actually coincidentally was the date of the concert, which is insane, like the way that worked out, because obviously 3 years ago, at that time after he passed, I was listening to his music, and then 3 years later, I get to listen to his music in live, like in person, and it hit me going into the concert, because I knew obviously that the date was coming up, but then I realized like, holy shit, like this is like part of the reason why it means so much to me. And now on the anniversary of the person's passing, I get to listen to him in person, like see him live, and it's crazy. Especially crazy because my dad had got me the tickets for this Post Malone concert. And I'm not the type of person at all, actually, to like ask for specific gifts. Like, I get that like for your birthday or, Christmas, whatever, when you're growing up as a kid, most of the time you get gifts, right? I never as a kid was like, let me get this. Like, I'm going to add things to like my wish list. I never did that. I just never was the type of person to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. If anything, you make the lives easier for a lot of other people, but I get uncomfortable with like asking for gifts. Expecting them's a little different. Like I will, I guess, expect a gift, or I did expect gifts as a kid, like for Christmas and my birthday, because you're a fucking kid. But now I don't expect them, and I definitely don't go out of my way to fucking ask for them. But Posty had announced his concert tour for 12 Karat Toothache, and after the whole weekend experience, which was covered in a past podcast episode, I was like, I can't go to another concert without making sure that those seats are like absolutely kick-ass, because there's no point. Because when you go to a concert, you're trying to enjoy the experience, and if you're in the fucking nosebleeds like I was with The Weeknd, who's another one of my top favorite artists, it's like sucks all the joy out of the experience because he's so fucking far, you can't see shit. That experience sucks. So I learned from that and was like, I got to get good tickets. Now I looked into it, was like $500 for one ticket. My dad, you know, we live a pretty comfortable life. Not saying we're like rich or anything, but we're definitely not, you know, struggling financially. At least my parents aren't. So I had asked them, hey, do you think like for my birthday this year, would you mind if you get me like these Post Malone tickets? Because I can't afford them, obviously. Like I'm just starting out in my career and all that stuff. And I get that's like super privileged to do. And he said, yeah, sure. I'll get them for you. And I was like super happy about that. And he got them for me, and I got to go fucking see him with my aunt and my uncle, who had tagged along from Orlando. My uncle Andres, who's actually also been on the podcast before. I put him on to Post Malone. So like we kind of bonded over him because of the fact that I showed him, and he was like, who the fuck? It's the typical thing that happens with anyone who discovers Posty for the first time, right? You see this white dude with a shit ton of tattoos, especially on his face, neck, all that stuff. And you're like, this person kind of looks like, you know, trashy. Like they look like fucking sketch or whatever. They don't look like a good person because for whatever reason, that's the stigma, right? And then you go and listen to his music, specifically any song with him singing, like Stay. You hear that fucking like, he has this like thing in his voice where he's just like I don't know how to do it. I'm not a fucking singer, but it's amazing, right? His songwriting, lyrics, I'm not saying they're like the best, but for me, they just hit different. So I showed him. He fucking fell in love with him. And I guess another reason why I'm so, like, I admire the man so much is because if you listen to any podcast that he's done, any interview, he's so fucking formal. Like, I curse way more than he does. Like, there's an F-bomb flying out of my mouth every other sentence. This guy, as long as, like, I mean, he curses too, obviously, in his songs and stuff, but when he's interviewing, when he's meeting people, he's not actually going about just throwing out curses willy-nilly, and he refers to people as, like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, stuff like that. I think that's just like the Texas in him. He's super like well-mannered, super mild-mannered too. He's not like a douche. Like you'd think someone that has seen that much success at an early age. Like this guy was making hundreds of millions of dollars before he was 25. You think a person like that would just be very egotistical, but he's like humble for whatever reason. And that reflects in his music, right? Like he says or has said that he moved from LA to Utah because he wanted to get away from all that busy lifestyle and stuff like that. And I admire it. I can relate to it a little bit. Like, it's great to have success and be in the, like, you know, be famous or whatever, right? But I don't relate to that part. I'm saying, like, I can see how someone can get tired of all the noise and want to get away with it and just kind of, like, relax and decompress. And not to mention, he's a huge fucking nerd. Like, massive. You can't see any... There's, like, Star Wars stuff in this corner, which I guess would be a cool addition to the set, but there's no like real estate for it in the backdrop. But he's like a huge nerd. He loves like Game of Thrones, he has a life-size statue of Kratos, the main character, the character the user plays as in God of War, in his fucking gaming room. Like his like he streams on Twitch. You could see that shit in the back. And I just love that. Like I feel like this is gonna be really weird to say, but I feel like he's like someone that I would, if there was someone that I would be friends with and they were to get famous, I feel like that would be him. Like, I love a lot of shit that he seems to have loved from what I know. And I'm like, yo, that's dope. Like, we kind of share that in common. I guess it's like super fanboyish of me, but I fucking loved it. Point is, I got to see this dude live in person at Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, the arenas of all arenas, right? The true Garden, not fucking TD Garden or whatever the fuck in Boston. That's not the real Garden. It's Madison Square Garden in the heart of New York City. Because I love New York, right? Got to fucking go in that bitch. He went on stage. Actually, before he went on stage, he was touring with Roddy Ricch. And this dude I actually love a lot of Roddy Ricch's songs. So he started, so it was like a 2-for-1, right? The seats are literally 7 rows back from the front. So the stage, the way it was set up, was like 3 prongs. So there's like the main stage all the way in the back. He didn't really perform there. And then there was like 3 outlets that came off of that back part of the stage. I was 7 rows removed on the floor seating level from the front middle prong, right? So this shit's like, he sweats, and if he like goes like this, or if he goes like this and then like that shit would basically hit me. Like I was feeling his body heat from where I was fucking sitting. Like it was insanely close. Okay, I'll throw up some pictures from my phone and shit like that right now, but it was just crazy, right? So we get to go. I'm sitting down. I'm getting worked up before the event because I'm like, oh my god, this is it. Blah blah blah. I was also pretty intoxicated. I had a good amount to drink along with me and my uncle and aunt. So we went in that bit, and obviously it was Bud Light. I had to drink some Bud Light for Posty, whatever. So we're sitting in the front row. This fucking Roddy Ricch dude comes out. A Boogie makes a guest appearance, blows the place up. Everyone's like, screaming, whatever. Next thing you know, homeboy in a full jorts and jean shirt with butterflies on them comes out, and he starts performing. There's one complaint I have about the show. His actual performance was an hour long. Right? He didn't like break in between songs. Like, you know how like a lot of artists when they perform, they'll like sing a song and then they'll take like a minute to 5 minutes just like talking to the audience, engaging, whatever the fuck, and like taking a breather. Cause I guess like, you know, it's hard to sing for that long. He didn't really do that. He did that maybe like once or twice, but for the most part, it was literally like song to song to song to song to song to song to song. He ran through his set list like mad quick. And then it ended up being like where he basically ended in an hour. And it was great. It was super fun. But the surreal part was something happened to me that has never really happened to me before, where I'm like a very emotional person. I would say like emotional intelligence is one of my strong suits. And like I can kind of recognize like when something's happening to me, like I'm feeling certain emotions, right? Like I'm very emotionally aware. And I was sitting in the crowd and he was like singing. And I had my uncle and aunt, who are 2 of like my favorite people in the fucking world. Like I love them to death. And I like was like, holy fuck, like I showed you guys this. You guys are a huge fan of this guy, like with me. Like he means, like his music means a lot to us. We're in the fucking front row. He's singing right there. Oh my God, this is insane. And I started like crying, like tearing up, like tears of joy. Judge me if you will. And then all of a sudden, like this weird thing where it's like, and I don't know, maybe it was the booze, like too much of them, but like I wasn't that drunk. Like I was tipsy, but I wasn't blackout. All of a sudden, in the middle of me feeling these overwhelming emotions, he's still playing the same song. It just like cuts to black. Like all of a sudden my emotions just like die out. Like they just literally, I was like, and then I was just like that. And then I was just looking at him and I'm like, whoa, this is really fucking happening right now. And I stopped feeling because it was almost like, I guess subconsciously, too much input. He means a lot to me, y'all. I don't know if you could tell, obviously. So it was just insane that happened, right? And then afterwards, like the concert ends, the fucking lights in the arena go up and you see like just the sea of people. Like I think it only sits like 14 to 20,000. You see all these people because it was a packed house, sold out, started leaving the show. Everyone in the floor section of the audience was screaming at him, this dude. And I've been to like a couple concerts. I've never seen someone do this. He's like kneels down on the edge of the stage and he starts signing people's stuff, taking pictures, like interacting with fans. And I'm like, yo, this is part of the reason that I fucking love this guy. Like, he's so sweet. Like, you don't have to do any of that shit. These people paid to see what you already gave them. Why are you interacting with them? Out of the sheer kindness of your heart. And he did that. I was like freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, I'm right here. The only shitty thing was there were so many people that like weren't sitting where we were sitting who kind of came up that he was kind of swamped. So I'm like the type of person where when I see that, I'm not going to go and try to like wrestle my way to the front just to get an autograph. I'd rather just soak in the moment. So I literally just stood there looking at him, doing all this stuff. And then I was just like, one day I'm going to have this man on my podcast. One day I'm a fucking, or not even, one day I'm going to meet this man, and then to the next level, one day I will have this man on my podcast. It was like a weird, like, goal setting moment. Like, that would be a dream of mine. And I would love to work towards that, whatever it is, but step by step, 100 subscribers, first step done. I would just love to be able to like sit down with him and have a conversation with him. Partly because I feel like most of the conversations that I've seen, with the exception of E3, I think, or whatever, E2, whatever, Ethan and his wife, they run a podcast. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name, but besides that episode that they have, H3H3, that's what it is. Besides that podcast, I haven't seen a podcast where I'm like, oh, that was really like, that was a good conversation that he had with them. Like, meaning Joe Rogan obviously had him on, and I watched that, and like, he didn't ask the questions or like the stuff that I wanted to know. Like, he didn't say like, what's your thought process behind like creating certain songs? What brings you joy in life? Tell me about your ups and downs, darkest moments, stuff like that. Like, none of that. It was like, oh, like aliens exist and like drugs bring you to this dimension. And yeah, I get all that. That's like on brand, but it's just like, bro, that's not what we want to fucking hear. So yeah, that's what it is. I had that goal. It's just fucking insane that I got to do that. Thank you so much to my dad for freaking buying me that ticket to be able to see that man in person. And hopefully I'll fucking get to see him in person again. He was amazing at performing. Like, it was crazy. Yeah, that's all I really got to say. Surprised this episode is carried out for over 40 minutes just being by myself. Yeah, thank you so much for liking the video. Thank you for all of you, those who subscribed. Now we're over 100 subscribers. We're going to keep on fucking climbing, keep on posting. Hopefully there'll be a cool set like this one. I mean, this is pretty good for like an at-home small space set in my new apartment. Whenever that is, whenever I move in. And hopefully I don't have fucking rats flying around and cockroaches and shit in the background when we record in that bitch. Thank you so much for watching. Cue the outro music. Be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, deuces.